Hey y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode number 357. My name is Jason, one of your co-hosts and owner of Outdoor Legacy. And as always, I've got with me my co-host, Hans. What is going on tonight, sir?
Man, we have another scope review. Very excited about this. Jason has it this time, so he's going to be showing the walk around.
Right.
I'm getting a chance. I'm going to audition for full-time spec reader offer. I'm going to try
Listen,
it.
I've already confirmed you win.
I
I
know.
don't,
Well, we've already said it's probably going to
yeah,
go a lot quicker through
yeah,
the specs,
exactly.
but I don't know if
Reading
that's a good
specs is
thing.
you kind of got to choose the short
Yeah,
straw to get that.
I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
if that's
not.
a good thing or bad thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you this is the I guess the last Jason of the brand new Pulsar Thermion 60 millimeter model. So we've already done the XL60, the XP60. Now today we've got the XG60. Before we jump into it, because I'm going to roll right into the specs unless you want to bring something else up. If you are looking to purchase an optic and you want to do so from Outdoor Legacy, we'd appreciate your business. And we know that sometimes the decision can be tough. I know that a lot of you call and say, man, I am so confused. There's so many to choose from. If you want to give us a call, if you want to buy from Outdoor Legacy, we invite you to call. You can do so 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacy.com. We got some friendly office managers that take your call. We got me and Garrett and Jason calling you back and answering all your questions. But we're here to help, and we'd love your business. So, Jason, if
Yeah, I got one quick thing I
yeah,
want
go
to
ahead.
say. I just want to throw this out. There's always a lot of confusion on the Pulsar models. So real quick on these new 60 millimeters, here's how they lay out. The XL60 is a 2.5 power 1024 by 768 resolution scope. The XP60 is a 3 power 640 by 480 resolution, and the XG60 is a 4 power 640 by 480, and the
Hmm.
prices are 69.99 on the XL, and
Hmm.
then 54.99
54.
or
Yeah.
$5,500 on both the XP and the XG. You
Hmm.
just choose if you want a 3 power or a 4 power 640. Every single one of these include a laser rangefinder built in.
Yep, that's a good point. And we could probably touch on before we get in the specs the quick differences between the previous
Yeah.
XG60, I'm sorry, XG50 model and the new XG60. My God,
I
I'm
know
getting
it's
that turn.
I know
Okay,
I'm
we're going to talk about the differences on the XG50 and the brand new XG60. So obviously, you see the numbers are different, 50 versus 60. That's a small increase in the objective lens size. So instead of a 50 millimeter, it's a 60 millimeter. But what it really means, and Pulsar has made an interesting play here. You know, with the XP 50, it was a 2 power. Now the XP 60 is a 3 power. Well, with the XGs, it was a 3 power. The XG 50, the brand new XG60 is a 4 power. So what we're going to talk about who this scope is good for, but what this basically did, it moved it into, I would say, a different category of a night hunter, depending on range. And so this is going to, this really moved it into a class of scopes that has not that much competition right now.
That's
If you
right.
talk about pure number of 4 power 640 scopes on the market, we're going to talk about all that. But the big change, again, it went from 3 power to 4 power. It's got a larger or a higher resolution display screen, 2560 by 2560. Jason, they used to be 1024 by 768, if my
Mm-hmm.
memory
That's
serves
right.
me correctly. So larger or more resolution, larger display screen. And also, they now come, the 60 millimeter models come with the American Defense Manufacturing mount. Those are the big differences right off the bat. Jason, unless I missed anything that you want to go over before we get in the specs.
The only small thing, and we'll bring it up later and talk about it some more, is they do come with two of the larger,
Yes,
longer lasting APS-3 batteries.
correct.
So in the
Yeah,
past, you only got one smaller APS-2. Now you're
yeah.
getting two APS-3s. Again, so longer lasting, and you're getting a spare battery for free. So Hans,
Okay.
roll on into these
Yeah, here
specs.
we go. We got the price is set at $54.99. I think you already said it, $5,500, y'all. That's with all the improvements. The price is unchanged from the previous XG50 model to the new XG60 with all the things we talked about with the mount, with the extra battery, with the larger, higher resolution display screen. More magnification, exact same price, $5,500 with the built-in laser rangefinder. So it
Well,
is a
I'll say
six.
real quick, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would say it's the same price that they have been, but those scopes, the XG50 LRFs, were actually about
When
$6,500,
they first came on the
a
market.
year and a half ago or so. So
Was it that high?
it's
Man,
yeah,
golly.
they were. The 54.99 was a price drop. So
Drop.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. When they first came on the market, they were at a higher price point. So 54, so that's an even better value. Resolution on it, 640 by 480. That's the thermal sensor resolution. It's a 12 micron, starts at 4 power, goes to 32 power. That is 8 times digital zoom. It's got a 38-foot field of view at 100 yards. And remember, this is a 4 power scope, so it's a considered high base magnification. 3,000 yard detection range. More importantly, I would say on a smaller size, like a coyote sized animal, about a 500 to 600 yard identification range. On a larger animal, that'll be a little bit further. It's got a minus 40 millikelvin NETD thermal sensitivity rating. They're a minus 20 NETD thermal sensitivity rating, 50 hertz refresh rate, 2560 by 2560 display resolution. We already talked about that. It's got a built-in, permanently attached, fully integrated laser rangefinder with 875 yard ranging capabilities. Also comes with the ballistics calculator capabilities with their Pulsar app that you can download, and it's very intuitive, very, very good. Comes with video, audio, Wi-Fi. Jason's already said it comes with 2 APS-3 batteries in the bag, but as far as runtime on the scope, a total of about 8 to 8.5 hours. The internal battery, we got about 5 hours of runtime. On the removable, we got about 3 to maybe 3.5. Now, these aren't ideal conditions. This is sitting in an office, at 72 degrees or 70 degrees. So, colder weather is going to affect that a little bit more, but pretty decent runtime out of something like this. Operating temperature is negative 13 degrees. Up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The weight is 51 ounces, fully loaded. That's with the mount and the APS-3 battery inside the scope. We already talked about it. Comes with an American Defense manufacturing mount. As you know, we believe those are the best repeatable QD mounts on the market. It's recoil rated for a 375 H&H caliber and 12 gauge shotgun. It does have 10 reticles, 11 different reticle colors, 8 different color palettes, and more zeros than you probably would ever want to set up on any amount of rifles. I think you could do like 10 different zeros per profile, Jason. So that is, if you do all that, God bless you, because that is more than I ever want to get into. And then it comes with the Pulsar 5-year warranty. That rounds it out, Jason.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to hold this up. It's very hard to do this and not hit my microphone, but I'm gonna hold the best I can. You can see this is in the American Defense manufacturing mount. That is now, as Hans mentioned, standard. It is a $250 mount. These are, in our opinion, the best mounts on the market. If you're gonna have an expensive scope, don't put it in a cheap mount. And Pulsar did not skimp here, including that with it. Okay, just going real quick down the scope. So we'll start here. There is a rubber eye cup included in the box if you want to use that. That is optional. Right here, this is your diopter focus. That focuses the screen to your particular eye. And then right here on the top, you've got 3 buttons. You've got your laser range finding button, you've got your zoom button, and you've got your record button. And then moving forward right here, this button is your menu button, and there's a wheel right here that turns. That's how you navigate through your menu. As you can see right here on the top, this is the taller battery cap, and that is where your APS-3 battery goes. You can use the smaller APS-2 batteries, but you'll just need a shorter battery cap that Pulsar has to be able to do that. But again, it is coming with the 2 APS-3 batteries. Right here, you can't really see it on this video well, it's kind of dark. That blue button is your power button. This right here is your laser rangefinder on the top, and this is your objective lens focus. So you're normally used to seeing a focus ring up here. This little knob will do that. That way it's easier to get to, and it is ambidextrous. A lot of people really like that because left-handed, right-handed, it's easy to reach up there and grab. Sometimes I find that if I'm carrying this, I might bump it. It might be like up against me and rubbing, and I might move it just a little bit. But other than that, no big deal. Moving back right here, you take this cap off that says XP60, and that is going to be your USB-C port. That will run external battery power, or it will charge your internal battery as well as your removable APS battery if you leave it in it. So you can charge both batteries by just plugging the scope into the wall. Also, there is included a 2 battery slot cradle charger, so you can charge both APS batteries outside of the scope at one time on a little USB cradle charger. Hans, that is the walk around.
Good job. Thank you very much, Jason.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get into we can get into our dislikes. We can get into our
Yeah.
likes. We can get into who it's good for. I know you mentioned before we got on the call today and before we started, I thought you brought up a really good point on something that you've noticed. We've noticed quite a bit with pulling these videos off. And I guess we
Yeah.
can bring it up in the negatives or
Yeah. And
dislikes.
I've noticed it specifically on the G more than
Mm-hmm.
the P or the L. But that's that the videos coming off, I feel, are much darker
Mm-hmm.
than they are when I'm looking through
Mm-hmm.
the eyepiece. So I had some really good footage. I don't even know if it made the cut. And I noticed it even more in Black Hot, but I was
Mm-hmm.
in Black Hot and I had some really close up footage. It stalked up on some hogs. And when I got the video off, I was like, man, it looks the
Yeah.
footage looked way darker than it did through the eyepiece. So I don't know. I don't, and again, I don't know if that's every single one of these units. If it's
Mm-hmm.
just my unit. I mean, Hans, I know you've had one as
No,
well.
yeah, it does come off darker.
Okay.
And I will say though that I have noticed that with some other brands as well. So I don't know what
Well,
it has to do with specifically. I don't know what's
yeah,
causing
something to do
that,
with the
but
way they're saving those videos and probably
yeah,
encoding it and all the
some
stuff that's
format.
way
But they
above
do
our
come
pay
off a little
grade.
bit. They do come off a little bit darker when you pull them off the scope. And I don't think that whether you plug it into a computer or if you're taking it off the phone and putting it, transferring it through the app, I don't think that helps it, or I don't think it'll
Yeah, I
make it
take
any
mine off
different.
on the computer, and I just
Yeah,
about turned my mic over
same.
here. People were, if they saw me, they're like, "What in the world was going on?" My
Oh,
mic
good.
was
I'm
almost
gonna
flipping off the
enlarge
desk.
that. Yeah,
I'm
enlarge the
going to
video on
say
that.
this, and we're going to be done with this, but I'm tired of talking about it because it's not. I don't think it's fair to these scopes to just beat the dead horse. We do this. It seems like every week we say, "Well, the scope's kind of heavy, the scope's
Yeah,
kind of long, the scope's." Guess what? We're saying this across to all brands. It just is what it is. So
yeah.
it is. I think that the positives of a scope like this, and I like
Hmm.
the just like the other brands that have the same issue. You start packing all this stuff in there, you get more battery life, you get laser range finders,
Hmm.
you get all these things, and you get good quality mounts. Things are going to weigh more. That's just going to
Yeah.
be part of it. And what I like about these scopes is that they're the most versatile scopes on the
Hmm.
market. A 30
Hmm.
millimeter tube scope. I don't care if you've got an AR-15, an
Hmm.
AK, an AR-10, a bolt gun, a chassis gun, a lever action. I don't care what it is. If it will take scope rings and you can mount a daytime scope to it, you can mount one of these to it. And
Hmm.
so I like that. Yes, the
Yeah.
scopes are bigger because of that. So I think Hans and I just made the executive decision. We're
I
going to quit
know.
talking
I'm
about
just
that because it's just like
so bored of
we're just
it.
beating the dead
Yeah.
horse every single week of, hey, this scope's kind of heavy. Well, it doesn't matter what brand. That's just the
Well,
way they
that's
are. But
and that just shows we're trying to we're fishing out there to try to
we
get
are.
some
We're
negatives.
we're
But
trying to find negatives, and so it's tough, guys. We want to be honest with y'all, but on this scope on the pros, I mean, I think there's a lot. I think that it is, and we're going to talk about this some more. But here's the first thing. Hans already said it. A 4-power 640 with a laser rangefinder from, one of the top quality brands in the market. There's only, I think, one competitor that I know of, and it's about $1,500 more. And
mm,
so what you've got here is a lot of scope for the $5,500 price range. High base
Um,
magnification 640s is not super common. So I think that is a big plus for the guys who are long range shooting and need that. I'm going to go through these likes real quick, and Hans, you can add whatever, but I'm just going to get through these. I think the big thing for us, we love the fact that it's coming with two APS-3 batteries now. I mean, that's saving you right out of the box. You know, most people say, well, it comes with the battery. I need a spare battery. Totally understandable. Guess what? Your spare is included with the scope. Hey, I need a good mount. I want one of those American Defense mounts. That is included in the box. $250. The APS-3 batteries are $99 a piece. So immediately what you're getting is $350 more than you were getting with the previous XG50 LRF. Okay, so I think that's a huge value. Obviously, the laser rangefinder, the ballistic calculator, Pulsar has been doing that longer than anybody, and guys that are long range shooters really like the Pulsar ballistic app. The big 2560 by 2560 display. Hans mentioned this. I want to just hit it one more time. It's not just a higher resolution, and it is, but it's also physically larger. If you look right here, this eyepiece is actually bigger in diameter to house that display screen in there. And so we're seeing that coming from other manufacturers as well. And I do think that that is going to become standard for the industry, is these large 2560 display screens. And I think the last thing I'm going to say, Hans, I just kind of took over these likes. I'm going to let you just wrap whatever if I left anything out. One thing about a Pulsar is I do think they're easy to use. And I'm going to say this, and you're going to say, oh, this is a typical salesman. I don't think any of the brands are particularly hard to use. And when guys ask on the phone, sometimes they start with, hey, maybe I'm older, I'm not a tech guy, I want the easiest scope. And I say, man, I mean, it's really 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I have to say that I do think that the menu systems in the Pulsar are very simple. They're pretty self-explanatory of what that does or what that, that function is. It's not just a weird icon. You kind of get an idea of what that is. So I think going through them, the whole process is as easy as any of them. And if you just force me, I might say that it's just a, tiny percent easier than some of the others. Last thing, they do have one of the highest recoil ratings of any of the major brands, 375 H&H 12 gauge shotgun, and more reticles and more reticle colors than most anybody else. So I like that as well. Hans, I'm done.
Yeah. Here's the reality of the situation about the XG60. Like we mentioned, it's only one of two of the major thermal manufacturers, one of two scopes that has a 4-power base magnification. Right now, it is the least expensive of the scopes with a 4-power base magnification. It's the only one, significantly less expensive. It's the only one with a built-in laser rangefinder, permanently attached laser rangefinder.
Correct.
So when you take all of that, this scope at 4-power, now we'll talk about it. This scope 4-power base magnification, we feel like, is for somebody who's really a predator hunter. What I see as a predator hunter, a coyote hunter, somebody whose average shooting distance is around 200 yards and further. As you can see, it's a very narrow field of view, 38 foot at 100 yards. So significantly narrower than a 2 or 3 power scope. But this is made for somebody who is what we would consider in the night hunting world, a long range shooter. That's somebody 200 yards and further than that. That being their average shooting distance. Somebody in a really wide open field, wide open places, not a lot of brush and cover, that's going to get in your way or obstruct your view, but what we consider long range shooter. So if you take that into account, who it's for, and the fact that there's just not a lot of competition at 4-power. If you want a scope with a built-in laser rangefinder, you want high base magnification, you want all the bells and whistles, there's just not a lot of options. And the I knew I was going to do the XG60 with Pulsar bumping that up in magnification. I think they said, well, we're going to kind of slip into this niche of the market that's really not well represented, or not doesn't have just abundance amount of scopes to offer. So they've really, they've elevated the XP to 3 power, which that's kind of a crowded field, but they needed that 3 power scope in there. They needed a 3 power scope. And then pushing this up into the 4 power really just, I think, and we've already seen the popularity of this scope. We've sold quite a few of them.
It's
and it's not
yeah,
just
it's
to
way more popular than I thought just a 4 power would be.
yeah,
It is we've sold
and
a
not
bunch.
it's not just Pulsar fanboys that are buying this. These are guys that say, I need high base magnification and I want a built-in laser rangefinder. Those are the guys that are buying it, because right now on the market it's the only option. So whatever you're thinking as far as what you need for a scope, consider where you're shooting, what features you need, what features you feel like you need. Whether, I get a lot of calls from guys that say, do I need a laser rangefinder? Is that a must? People are saying, I can't go hunt if I don't have a laser rangefinder. That's something that we can talk about and discuss. But if you are somebody whose average shooting distance is what we would consider 200 yards or close to 200 yards, or if you just in general like high base magnification, there are people out there, Jason, that are shooting at hogs at a feeder 100 yards away, but they prefer to have a high base magnification.
Sure.
And that's totally acceptable as well. But I think that this scope has, it's, again, there's just not a lot of competition for the 4 power at that with those features.
Yeah, I think everything you said there is dead on. I think that, and you keep saying 200 yards, and I don't disagree with you there. I would say, and you said the kind of average shot, and I don't disagree. Sometimes the way that I say it is, if your normal minimum shot is 150 yards, if almost all of your shots will be over 150, and to be clear, Hans just said it. You can shoot hogs at 100 yards with this scope. Okay, that's just not ideal for the way most people are hunting, spotting and stalking, and getting up there, and hogs are running or coyotes are running, and you're at 50, 75, 100 yards. That narrow field of view and that lot of magnification is going to be, in your face, maybe harder for those follow-up shots. However, once you get to that 150 or 200 yard range, now that problem goes away. So real quick, and I'll do the math. So it's a 38-foot field of view at 100 yards. So at 150 yards, that's 57 foot. That's considered a wide field of view. I mean, so 57 foot is plenty. So 150, 200 yards, you're not worried about that high power anymore. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to seem obvious to a lot of people, but somebody says, well, why don't you just buy a 3 power? They all got digital zoom, right? Zoom it up. Buy a 2 power. Well, what you have to remember, and again, a lot of people that have thermal experience understand this, but a lot of guys that are new to it don't. Every time you zoom up, you are lowering your resolution, which means you are lowering your image quality. The image is going to get grainier, more pixelated. You're giving up that image quality. So if you're that guy that is taking all those shots out there at 150, 200 or further, you're going to have to zoom up less than if you had bought a 2 power or a 3 power scope. So I would argue this. I would say that if it was just pure image quality, nothing but image quality, the XP might beat this scope by a little bit in the image quality category, but it's only a 3 power. And this is something that Hans and Garrett and I really want to explain to people over the phone, is that you've got to choose the right magnification. I can show you some amazing image quality optics that are 1 power, okay, or 2 power. But when you go out and you try to shoot coyotes or hogs or whatever it is at 200, 300, 400 yards, you've got to zoom that thing up over and over until you've got a terrible image. I mean, you literally could buy a $800 256 resolution scope and probably not be any worse off. I mean, with the image quality that you're getting by the time you've zoomed up. So that's where these native 4 powers are a big deal. Hans, you said it too. This scope has been more popular than we thought it would be, for the reason of Three power is more of an all around magnification. You know, hog hunters, coyote hunters, it's not too much, it's not too little. So it's just kind of that sweet spot for where most of the market wants to be now. But four powers sell, they just always sell less because, again, that's your long range guy. It's a guy who's not worried about shooting at 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 yards. And but I think that the reason these are selling so well is kind of the horse that you've beat several times. There's only a couple of these options. This is the only one with a built-in laser rangefinder, and in this price category, it's you're getting a lot of value for the dollar for a four power 640.
I would say if you were just wondering, like, man, is this the right one for me? Again, I would invite you, unless you're an experienced thermal hunter out there and you've been doing it for years, and there's a lot of you that they researched and and you've used a lot, and this is not your first rodeo or first optic, then you can hop right on the website. You don't even have to call us. You can go to outdoorlegacy.com. But if you need to talk about it, if you want to figure out if the XG is right for you, the XP, again, the XL, there's a lot of good Pulsar models that were just released before SHOT Show, so at the end of 2024. And these are, again, we're pretty excited about these and the changes that they've made, the larger, that viewfinder screen, Jason. I tell people, once you use a scope that has a 2560 by 2560, you will never want to not want to go back to something else. You get spoiled on that large display screen. Really, really like it. But if you want to talk about it, if you need somebody to talk to, give us a call, 877-350-1818. A lot of you say, hey, well, you invited me to call. You put your number on the screen, so I'm calling. Well, yep, that's exactly why we did it. And we appreciate your business, because when you call us and you order a scope, an optic from Outdoor Legacy, that supports the show. That's what allows us to go out and do this. This is what allows Jason to pay me to go out all night long and get all this video footage. And, I didn't even mention it, Jason, hunting a coyote hunting tournament last weekend. And, I need to send you the bill for that, because I do expect to get paid, even though that's for fun. I do expect to get paid for that too.
Yeah.
But we do, I want you to know, we do test every optic.
Absolutely.
I take it out, Jason, a lot of people think, and I'll cut this short. A lot of people think, that these manufacturers just hand us over all these scopes to test. More often than not, way more often than not, Jason is buying two of every scope, and one goes to me and one goes to him and Garrett, and we swap back and forth from time to time. But we do test every scope, and we don't just test it for a couple days. A lot of times, that's why our reviews, Jason, are not the first ones to come out, and that's for a reason. We're reviewing a lot of scopes, but we have these scopes for weeks in advance before we are able and ready to put out a review for it. So all the video you see, all the culmination of all this, to get 2.5, 3 minutes of video, how long does that take, Jason? Because we're taking 5-second clips,
Yeah, here's the deal. I record clips 20 to 30 seconds and send them to Hans. He takes 3 to 8 seconds, on average 5 seconds out of that clip. So if he shows 2 minutes of video, you do the math. It takes weeks and hours and hours and hours of standing out in the cold or in the hot or in the whatever to get these, to get enough footage to review these. And that's between him and Garrett and myself. And it's a pain. So that is why it takes us sometimes longer to get reviews out, because we're trying to get the dang footage,
And these aren't videos of just, look at that house over there on the other side of the field, or look at this barn, or look at those cars driving down the road. This is in the field footage. But anyway, we've patted ourselves on the back long enough. But that's why some of these
patting
reviews
myself on the back. I'm giving an excuse of what takes us so long to get some of these videos out.
We get a lot of guys like, man, when is that review coming out? When is that review? We've got our schedules too, but we're working on all that. We got a lot more to do. But again, we appreciate your business. You ordering from Outdoor Legacy allows us to do this and continue to put out all of this free complimentary information out here on YouTube. So we appreciate y'all.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, if you're looking for any more information, you can find Hans ETX, Hans East Texas. That's Hans ETX, or the Late Night Vision Show, or Outdoor Legacy. We're on all the social medias, which that's, I say all, the big ones: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can find them all there. Just search for them. Again, outdoorlegacy.com. We would love to have your business. So let us know if you go to the website and you see one of these scopes, anything that we've got and it says out of stock, call us or send us an email. Call the ladies in the office. They can tell you a lot of this stuff is just coming in all the time, and it might not be a big long wait. Now, if it's a new product that there's a big back order list, it might be. But call and we'll find out and let you know, because a lot of times guys call and go, "You're not going to believe this, but those are coming in today." Like, well, good timing. Glad I didn't go somewhere else. So anyway, let us know. We're glad to help you. 877-350-1818, guys. Between now and next week, y'all stay safe. Hope to see you back here again next Thursday.